Roger, thanks for dropping by. It's sort of coming round to the time where I feel I ought to start doing things. The main reason is there's going to be a window of opportunity on the trees at many and varied times, and it's quite possible that a lot of those windows of opportunity are going to bunch up together and there'll be too much to do in too short space of time. So I thought I'd get ahead of myself on some of the things that I can do ahead of time. Now, in the main, as far as maples are concerned, if they're not going to be repotted, in other words the roots remain undisturbed and it's a good root system from previous year's growths, then I would wait for the sap to rise before I pruned. Yeah, so that I'd make sure the sap was up in the tree, and then I could guide it into the bits that I want. And the little bit that might get trimmed off and wasted wouldn't matter in that case. However, if you're going to repot, you are going to put the tree under stress, and it will have an energy deficit, because the roots will have been disturbed, and that may actually reduce the energy that can be put into the tree to get that sap surge to burst the buds out. So what I'm going to do with this, the first thing I'm going to do is we snap this branch trying to lower it, or I wasn't actually trying to lower it, what I was trying to do was show you how it would look if I lowered it and it snapped. So we did a repair on it basically. I'm just going to take the wire off and everything now to see if it actually worked. I don't see any reason why it shouldn't. It's just a matter of how bad does it look really. But it did snap quite badly. That awful sound when you're just bending a branch a little bit just to sort of show what it would look like in its new position, and whoosh, there it was. So what did I do then? Well, I basically put some super glue inside, you know, in the dead wood on the inside of the branch, and glued it together. And then on top of that, I taped it to hold it firm. And then on top of that, I wired it. So that's what happened. Now we've got to try and get it off and see what we've got underneath. This tape doesn't want to come off at the moment. So we could have a really nasty scar here, it's quite possible. This really doesn't want to come off. Let's put a blade on it, see if I can cut through. This is where you slip and cut your fingers. Pull it off. I think what's happened here is that some of the glue came out from the crack and got onto the tape. Really can't get this off. Doesn't want to come off at all. I'm sure there's an easier way to do this. There must be. Try and see if I can cut it off, cut chunks out of it, and do it around the back of the tree in case I cut into the bark here. Oh, this is hard work. It's boring as well. Well, I'm thinking from the video point of view, you know, this is just a rubbish bit to watch. I'm too far away for you to see it in great detail. And quite honestly, I'm going to leave it for now and do it off camera because it's just wasting time. And this wasn't the main reason, purpose for the video in the first place. So, right, what am I looking for then? Now, I've got a problem with this tree and its sister tree. There are two that were bought as little 6-inch twigs in pots and have been grown on since then. They're two different types of maples and they had a similar shaping and they're about the same size, same trunk thickness, but they are different varieties. And basically I have no record of when they were repotted. Now, they weren't done last year, that I'm confident of, but I don't know when I did them. So what I'm going to do is when I finish mucking about pruning, I'm going to actually take the wires off and lift it out of the pot and see what state the roots are in. As soon as I lift it out of the pot, I'll be able to tell whether it was repotted a long time ago or more recently. So what am I looking for then? What I'm looking for is long internodes, crossing branches, and things that I can see are just wrong and the tree would be better off without. Now, there were some extensions allowed last year. So if we just start here, there's a bit of dead, you know, there's some dead wood here, dieback, which in some cases is due to the harsh weather we've had. There were some little branches here that were left to see if they would grow, and they've pushed out a little bit. So what we're looking for here is, that'll have to go. It's an underlying branch. There's two branches, one on top of the other there. They're not going to do well like that. That's better. Right, coming round here, we'll keep that one, but we'll take the long one off so that we've got some leaves at the base of this branch. This one is long. That's a long internode. We're going to bring that one back to that branch, and this one can come off so that it will revert to the upper branch. Now we've got to look at, oh, it's the heater just come on. Hang on, I'll unplug that. Just for now, it's not going to get that cold in a short amount of time. So I'm going to leave this little branch sticking up here because there is quite a gap between these branches. So anything that grows up on this branch, you would normally take upward pointing branches off, but in this case I'm going to leave them. So we've got one at the moment, that's not many, but we've got one. Huge big long internode, die back. Another big long internode there. And we've got a cluster here. They can't all stay, but I'm looking at what else I've got at the moment. I'm going to take that off completely. Am I? Yes. I'll take that off completely. And that. And the main reason, you might think I'm going a bit hard here, but last year we got part way through the year and I said, let's go and find my maples, because basically they had grown so thick and so dense, they were just a bush. They didn't look like a bonsai at all. They looked awful. Lovely and green, you know, smashing growth and everything, but they lost their space. They'd lost that important air space, you know, the gaps in between the branches, so that the layers actually show. Ridiculously long internode. Actually, the whole branch is what's wrong there. We'll take that back to that little one underneath. In fact, we'll take the lot off. It's pointing in towards the middle. So there we go. Now again here, you see you've got one branch on top of another branch. Well, I want to push the tree upwards so the higher one gets to stay, the lower one comes off. Now what have we got? Long internode, push them back. If they haven't got buds at the start of the internode, they will form some. And then we've got these two ridiculously long ones here. Let's hope it will form some buds. Another one, long one here, poking me in the eye. Again here. got crossing branches here. Too many branches here. Take that one off in the middle, it's right between two other branches. And take that dead bit there, that can come off. Long internode, in fact, pointing inwards, take it off. Right, so that's opened that little, oh, missed one there. And there, come to think of it. That was the cluster that I walked away from, that I was going to deal with. Too many branches coming out in one place. So they will all interact and all cross over and look absolutely awful. So you just take some off so that those that are left can push on. And we get long internodes. Right, that'll do. As I say, it's a rough prune. You're not being delicate or anything. So that does that lower branch. That should now make quite a nice layer. And some of the leaves will be on the ends of branches, making a nice fan shape without too much density at the base of the branch, which is the thing I'm trying to avoid. Because as I said, they lost their shape quite badly last year. Right, over to this one. Again, looking for long internodes. And branches crossing over or heading in the wrong direction. Now this layer it's a set of 3. So this is my first branch, this is my second branch, and then I've got a back branch that's quite weak, and then another strong branch here, which points slightly backwards, which gives the tree some depth. But I need this branch to come forward a bit. Yeah, so these bits pointing towards me, they get to stay, and the density of what's pointing backwards needs thinning right out. So over here, we've got stuff pointing backwards, stuff crossing over, stuff pointing downwards, long internodes, dieback. And then here, again here, we've got a massive cluster. There's probably about 15 branches all coming out at the same point there. They can't all stay, they won't work, they'll all cross over, the leaves will get all tangled up together, and I think it's the height that needs to come off there. So it's everything sticking up. So we'll just take these pointing upwards branches off. As I said, it's just a stump, this thing, and it's a cluster, lots of branches all coming out together. It's where it was cut. It's where it was cut back and then it shot out. And I didn't get at it, and I should have done, and thinned them out. Because now it's really difficult to get in there at them. Gotcha. Was the other reason for pruning at this time of year is that the trees don't bleed, but there's a downside to that. They also don't heal, so you can get infections. They don't heal themselves because there's no sap rising, but they haven't got the ability to do so. Not to any great extent anyway. You can stay. Still needs thinning out a bit here. That's better. Internodes and dieback. That'll do for that, I think. Oh, and a silly little double branch there, we don't need both. Pull that one off. That'll do. So that's got some depth, some height, and some branches lower down that I'm hoping will grow out at that level. You know, which should allow the density of that pad to thicken up. Right, this one. Now you get a lot of people say you should always start at the top and work down. When the leaves are off, I can't see it makes any difference. You can start halfway up if you want. You know, you should know what your outline is that you're aiming at, and if that has extended too far in previous years, then you know you want to bring it back. You know, so it's Right, here we've got everything coming this way I want to keep, and the stuff that's going the other way I need to thin out. Into nodes again. And that's a crossing branch, which is a pity, but right, now this thick bit here, I'm going to take that off. It's got a long straight piece there, which if I take it off it puts a bend in it effectively, puts a kink in it. So it now looks like it's got some shape as opposed to being long and straight. So that's that one, and then this one, again it's a double branch, so I'm going to take the lower one off. Can't keep both, they're running parallel here. We'll take that one off. That's opened it up a little bit. So this is sticking out as far as this, which means it's too much. So it needs to come back in. So I think we'll go back into that little branch there, which is heading towards me, which is where I want most of the effort. And we'll take that one off as well. That's virtually done, that branch then. So I want the pad here, I want it above this one, but not as long. So I'm worried, this one's, let's push it back to those two. That's better. Good die back there. Right, so that'll do for that one. And then I'm growing a new branch here. It didn't do very well last year, but it's made a start. And that is because there's a massive gap here. And it would be nice to have a little layer just here that comes out slightly and slightly crosses the trunk. A bonsai that you can see the trunk from the bottom to the top on a deciduous tree, to me is always going to look a bit wrong, because it means there's nothing facing you. And in a rounded tree there will always be parts of the trunk that you can't see, or I think there would be. Right, this little back branch, we've got a long internode, skizzers, bit of die back, not much. This is a weak branch, so I don't want to go mad with this. Die back in the centre there, two side shoots coming on. So we'll leave that, we'll see what that will do. Taking a lot of the larger stuff off should put some energy into the smaller stuff. That's the theory. And then we've got this little side branch coming out here that's ideally between this pad and the start of the apex. But we don't want it pointing at the sky. It's a little branch and it does need to grow on a bit to do its job properly. So we'll leave that as is. That's done. Now we come up to the apex, which we hacked quite a bit of that out last year. And guess what? We're going to hack some more out now. This becomes an absolute nightmare. It's just so dense. So it needs thinning out to get some shape and bringing back in, because at the moment the apex is not far off the same width as these two lower branches. So it's pushed out too far. The problem with it is that where the branches were cut last time, they formed clusters quite a way away from the main trunk. So I'm going to have to hope that these shoot out. So let's be drastic. Let's do some heavy pruning. Get these central ones out so that they, what's left spreads out sideways, if you know what I mean. I'll get the cutters in there. There's two branches overlapping each other. I'll cut them both and then I can get at them. They're both pointing in towards each other into the centre of that little branch. So let's space that one out a bit. Long internodes there and there. Little one pointing upwards, probably no. And then we've got the bit going backwards. We don't want that. It makes it all too dense. Right down here. Leave that. Take that off. Should we leave that one? We'll reduce that one in. Die back. Right, let's have a look, see what we got here. Lots of long internodes on that branch, so take the whole branch off. Got to get this more compact up here. It's just far too it's elongated, too far away from its job, which is an apex. It's not trying to be a canopy that's bigger than all the lower branches. Look at that one! Whoa! You can come right off. Right, how are we doing? We've still got stuff pointing upwards. Need to thin out. Trying to get a more rounded shape. Look at this thing. What a tangle. So we will take some off. You're all going to moan that I'm not sealing these wounds. I'll do them all later, those that are big enough to warrant it. Not all of them are. As I said, I'm not going to get a load of sap all over the place because the sap's not rising. Just need this whole area thinner. Far fewer branches. Therefore fewer leaves, therefore not as dense. Right. You know, I'm going to take that lower section off there. Some pointing forward, but not so much. These two little branches are going to do the job here, so this can actually come off. Right, what have we got now then? Still a bit of a tangle here. That's better. Pointing towards the middle, no good. And then we've got that one there that's just wrong, basically. It's just a little shoot that was allowed to grow and got missed when the leaves were on. We take that right off. Coffee. Right, now up here. We've got to decide now how high is this apex going to be, and I think it needs to be about there. So anything sticking up above there needs to come off. There's too much heading towards the back here and not enough heading towards the front. Let's take the length off. That leaves that one heading downwards slightly, that'll give it some depth. This one, if we take that bit off and take that long internode off, we'll see what happens with that. And that's crossing over, so that can come off. You know, I'm going to take those big bits right back and hope they shoot out. There's a little shoot there which might progress if I take the weighty branch off, and then this one we've got some height here, some here, bits and pieces, and this is just too much, so we'll have that off as well, I think. And that's got my apex right down and thinned out. Just got to come round here and have a go at this back branch. There's quite a bit of dieback on there and too many branches. There's a cluster there as well. Dead bits, them out the way. Long internode. Long internode. very easy to miss. You get sidetracked on all the other stuff you're doing. Right, I'm reasonably happy with that now. So this pad's been thinned out. Most of the leaves, apart from this little area here, will now be on the ends of the branches. So this will maintain this area visible. And then the same here. This is pushed away from the trunk and all the leaves will make a nice pad away from the trunk. So far we're exposing the trunk at least to here. And then the first leaves that will cross over the trunk are here. These will be the first little set. And then this one, as I said, I need to pull this one back round here. But that's just a matter of, you know, cut off what's going in the wrong direction, leave what's going in the right direction. Whoa, missed one. Get off. You know, I didn't miss that, it just, the scissors didn't go right through. Right, I'm going to leave it at that as a tidy up and a thinning session, and hopefully this year I can maintain the pads better. Now I'm going to apply, because I'm going to be doing more work on the bonsai this year, I'm not going to be lazy like I have done in past years. I'll put a bit of effort in. Now that I can actually get out in the garden and see what I'm doing, I'm going to apply the big leaf rule. And the idea is that every week you have a look for half a dozen to a dozen of the largest leaves and just take them off. Doesn't matter where they are, just take them off. So gradually you're reducing the larger leaves, leaving the smaller ones. The idea is that the tree learns. This is theory. There's no brain in there, but basically it will start producing smaller leaves. This is the theory, so we'll give it a go. Not exactly a big deal, is it? Just as you go past the tree, just pull off the large leaves and leave what's left. Snip them off if you want. Right, the other thing I wanted to do was get this out of the pot, if it will come out, and see if it looks like it's been repotted relatively recently or not for 100 years. Now you might think, well, if you cut the wires, how's it going to stay in the pot? Well, it's got no leaves on, it's not exactly going to blow over, is it? And I think it'll be okay. So we just take the wires off, bend them up towards the hole so that they'll thread back through. And then see if we can rattle it out. I'm pretty confident the fact that it won't even move, it hasn't been repotted for some time. I'm pretty confident now. Can't pull the wire through it even. This is a very dense media here. It's holding water. The moss is growing really well. That's a sure sign that the media is not draining very well. I'm just going to accept the fact that that needs a repot. And to get it out of the pot when I actually get to the stage that I want to repot it, which is not yet, I can just run a blade around the edge there and it should just lift out. I'll probably be filming it anyway. Right, so the sister tree like this I will be doing next. I won't be doing it today, but it will be exactly the same treatment. So personally I see no point in doing that as a video, as it will just be a repeat of exactly what I've just done. With a very similar shaped tree as well. They are real sister trees. So anyway, thanks for dropping by. And there will, you know, this channel's been dead for some time, simply because there's nothing to do in the winter. You know, I don't believe in wiring trees when you've got -7 outside. You know, the wire can get so cold it can burn the branches and stuff. So I've just been left, everything's been left as it is. Nothing's been watered, and as you can see, this is wet. We haven't had any rain here for about 2 weeks, if not more. But it's been cold. Now it's warming up, it's spring light today, and we'll probably get some rain later in the week, which will make the pots even more soggy. But I'm certainly not pouring water on them, they're plenty wet enough, which is a sure sign that it's not draining very well and it needs a repot. So I will mark those two down in my notes as needing a repot, this one and the sister tree. And then we'll look at something else to do, but there will be more videos now, far more frequent and lots of variety. I've got all sorts of trees. I haven't got too many young trees or starter trees. Quite a few of mine are, developed or semi-developed trees, so there's quite some good stuff to have a look at and plenty of work to do. So talking about it doesn't get it done, I'm afraid. See you next time.